All right, hi everybody. I wanted to make a video today just to say thanks for the 600 subscribers. At the time of this video, we've got over 600. We've got 604. So thank you if you subscribed and thank you guys for the comments. Um, I really appreciate that. And I guess I'm kind of always surprised that people respond to my uh, videos just because I do cover a lot of pretty niche topics and a niche hobby of historical wargaming. So I hope you at least find the videos informative and maybe sometimes entertaining. Um, so and I think I was looking through the videos that I started making almost 4 years ago. I think I've been doing the channel for like about 3.5 years now. Um, I think I've definitely improved. Presenting more stuff that's just like research oriented and sharing information that can be useful to other people, especially on these lesser known or kind of misunderstood states. And in a period that of like let's just say the Renaissance warfare from 1450 to 1700, that there's not many channels I would say on YouTube that cover this period primarily. Although if there's more out there, comment because I'd love to connect with more Renaissance gamers out there. Um, but yeah, so I think I've made the channels kind of improved, and it's transitioned from me kind of focusing a lot on Warhammer stuff, which is all over YouTube, and uh, yeah, people do plenty of that already. To focusing in on what I work on and the kind of history I'm interested in. Wasn't really conscious, but I think when you do a kind of creative project like this, it just sort of happens over time. You just kind of settle on something and it sort of works, and you develop a sort of a voice, let's say. And so since this is, I guess, kind of a special, I thought I'd tackle, I discuss, what's with the Ottoman thing, because I get this sometimes. So I thought I just want to explain the road because it wasn't really obvious to me. Um, Obviously well, from my voice, I'm American, so when I was growing up in America, it was during the 2000s, and you have a pretty kind of distorted view of like the Middle East because maybe if you're a little bit better informed, or I shouldn't say that, if what I kind of understood from school and um whatever like was on the news, like, oh, the Middle East, that's the Arabs, right? Obviously the Arabs were and are still a big part of the Middle East. And then maybe like the Kurds or something, that these are kind of this is what's understood to be like the Islamic Middle East. And even I would say in school they kind of presented it like that. So the Ottomans weren't really on my radar very much. Um, and then when I got to graduate school, when I started graduate school, I I had wanted to do my research, and this is kind of important when you start a graduate program in history. You kind of have to pick a topic. You have to pick something. The project you're going to do, and it's really important. And so I was at a point. where I was kind of not really motivated to do what I wanted to do originally, and there were like some personal reasons, and there were like some more structural reasons. I guess all personal ones is I was kind of depressed at the time, um, and I had kind of low motivation in general. So and I wanted to write about the history of America and Southeast Asia, or an aspect of it, I should say, because that would be a big topic for a master's degree, but like an aspect of the history of South of America and Southeast Asia. But I wanted to look at it like from a longer view. Like I had read a lot about the Vietnam War, read and I still have tons and tons of Vietnam books, and I could talk a lot about that actually still, but um, and the books that I had read about Vietnam from the period, and even ones that are written more in our own time, they kind of obscured that there had been previous American involvement in that region, um, and they didn't really understand that aspect of um, what it the kind of the bigger picture, the longue durée. This is a common term used in history writing. So that was kind of my idea, was I would do my PhD and look at the sort of longer trajectory from starting back like in the 19th century, and then especially with the Philippine War, which is really fascinating. And I think I recommend people read about it because it's quite interesting. And there's a book, uh, Brian Lynn, I think it's the author's, I think that was his name, The Philippine War. Um, I think, yeah, if I'm remembering the author correctly. Great book. Anyway, so that was kind of my idea. But like I said, there were those personal reasons. And another one was at the time I thought, okay, well, if I want to do this correctly, I have to learn all these languages. So that would mean, probably, Vietnamese. I'd have to learn Tagalog. I'd um, have to learn probably Thai, and then the most intimidating of them all, Mandarin, Chinese. And I didn't really have it in me, and part of that was my own lack of discipline and motivation. And then, to be quite frank, the quality of language instruction at a lot of American universities is not very good. So, and my university couldn't really offer any of those languages. So I was kind of, you know, there were a lot of problems like that. And then more structurally, there's a lot of sources from like the Cold War era from other countries that will probably not be open for like 100 years, or will never be opened, something like that, and that would be countries that were less kind of uh, that were important, like in Southeast Asia, but kind of don't really make it into the mainstream, the popular narratives, like Thailand and Indonesia, and that all had their own kind of interests in the Cold War that don't necessarily get represented. But anyway, this was my perception at the time, and I was kind of not really motivated, and I thought that I was facing like this Sisyphean task, if I continued down this route to, that, and it would be a hard kind of thing to sell in a doctoral program. So that was my problem. And then, so I had to take, so around that time, I had to register for courses for the upcoming semester. And there weren't very many choices. I went to the institution I went to for that master's degree was kind of small. So I ended up picking um, the Ottoman course, and I didn't really know what to expect because like I said, you don't really, or at least when I was growing up and even into college, you don't really get a lot about the Ottomans. Maybe you probably learn like a little bit about like okay, the sack of Constantinople, and then they jump ahead usually to the Battle of Vienna in 1683, and then again they jump ahead to like the Great War, and then the genocides, like the Armenian genocide and things like that at the end of the war. So it's like really not anything. I would say pretty not serious history. Just sort of very truncated version of events. So I didn't know what to expect, I guess. Um, and the so I got into the course, and the professor was really serious, but also very approachable, and he kind of I guess he appreciated my effort because I taking the course I thought, oh well, maybe I could try and teach myself like a little bit of Turkish to just for fun because I didn't know anything about the language before that. So I ended up doing that, trying to do that with like instructional videos, and then he said, okay, well, if you really want to do this, come and talk to me. And then, so he started to teach me like basic Turkish, and then I started to read. And eventually, we started to read Ottoman Turkish. And then during the course, though, I had to pay. Right, I had to write a term paper. So I had a topic in mind. I was thinking about doing something about like religion and the empire. I think it's a pretty normal idea for people to have if you were in my situation of this course of, what was it like for the non-Muslims or even the Muslims, under the empire, what was religion like? But I think my professor in the class kind of made me think about that in more interesting ways. That religion was important, obviously, at that time, but it wasn't. But it also wasn't, everything. Um, so, and then I told him that I had, mostly done military history, and he got that interested him, and he started to um, send me all the stuff and books and stuff about the Ottoman and Habsburg warfare. And it was and then all the pike and shot, you know, things that I had looked at, or read cursorily, and when I was much younger, kind of came back, and it was like finally I could read about these wars because oftentimes when you're taught about the kind of military revolution, so called, in the pike and shot period, the Turkish wars are just sort of, or the Ottoman wars, I should say, are just kind of like background noise, um, to the sort of whatever the are the main events. I think that's changed a little bit in the last 5 to 10 years, but in popular treatments, I think it's still sort of along these lines. But it was also interesting because there were very few like narrative operational histories like I was used to. Like we read history about like the American Civil War or Second World War or the First World War, kind of these bigger topics. You've got like the operational history, and then you've also got kind of the war in society type of stuff. Um, and of the kind of the non-military and social stuff that's connected to warfare. How warfare and the military impact kind of larger society. But I thought that reading it, I felt like I could really kind of make a contribution here. And it was interesting because there was a lot of stuff where you know there are a lot of questions where no one has written about this, or there are sources that no one has looked at in you know potentially hundreds of years. So that really sold me. And then working with this professor of mine, he also showed me that I could learn a language, actually. So he got me to read. Eventually, we were reading Ottoman Turkish together, um, and it really basically changed my life. I got to travel and live in Europe and in Turkey, and something that I think before that I never thought I would do. I always kind of wanted to do something like that, but I just never. Uh, yeah, it was always like I never thought it was really possible. So, but doing this kind of research and really it also kind of helped me partially get out of deal with some of this depression. It definitely changed my life. And then I was a war gamer, so I thought, well, hey, why don't I paint wargaming miniatures about these wars? And then I've been doing the channel and sharing that stuff uh, since then. So it was it's been good, I think. Um, and I yeah, so that sorry, I kind of trailed off there, but yeah, that's where the kind of Ottoman origin story for me comes from. Um, and It's been an interesting ride. It's going to continue. Um, and I guess in terms of where the channel's going, I mean, I'm still going to do the painting videos and the wargaming videos. Uh, Mostly, I just like interacting with the other people that make videos and talking to the other war gamers. I always, it's always nice when I get like thoughtful comments and I can learn from other people. Um, the only big project I would like to do someday on the channel, but it's expensive and I'd have to, I think, get more serious camera equipment. If I can ever go to Hungary again, I would like to be able to like film some videos of the fortresses and be able to talk and kind of like a documentary about some of the battles. Um, but that again that requires money and better equipment than just my iPhone. Um, so, but that is something I'd like to do someday, and also maybe if the channel keeps growing, use it as a kind of platform to organize some kind of Renaissance wargaming event in the U.S. Somewhere. So because I think it would be fun to run some kind of small kind of convention or games day for Renaissance wargaming. There's not very many channels I think that focus mainly on kind of the 1500 to 1700 period. So um, I'd like to do that. Kind of like how there's a 7 Years War convention, something similar. Thought about giving it the name like the Renaissance Wargamers Workshop, something like that. So those are kind of the goals I think long term that I would with the channel. But all right, well, if you watched till the end, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you again for the 600 subscribers. And I hope I can continue to grow and get keep having nice and thoughtful connections on here. So, all right, thank you for watching, and have a good day wherever you are.